The harshest winters in North America did not always kill the people who were weakest. They often killed the people who were most certain they already understood the cold. Explorers, soldiers, and settlers arrived with heavy coats, thick blankets, iron tools, and confidence. They built huge fires, wrapped themselves in weight, and tried to overpower winter by brute force. Yet many of them failed across the same frozen forests, open plains, and wind-scoured landscapes. Native American communities moved, hunted, built shelter, protected their families, and kept living. The difference was not magic, luck, or toughness alone. It was a deep system of knowledge, refined over generations, where clothing, food, fire, shelter, movement, and judgment all worked together. Their greatest winter secret was not simply how to stay warm. It was how to stop winter from quietly stealing heat, energy, and clear thinking before anyone noticed. Most people think cold is the main enemy. Native Americans understood something more dangerous: moisture. A dry day far below freezing could sometimes be easier to survive than a wet day just above freezing. Modern science now explains the reason. Water pulls heat away from the human body far faster than air. Once clothing becomes damp, it stops protecting the body the way it should. The warm air trapped inside layers is replaced by moisture, and the body begins losing energy at a dangerous speed. Indigenous hunters and travelers learned this through experience long before thermometers or survival manuals existed. The goal was not to pile on as much warmth as possible. The goal was to stay dry, regulate heat, and avoid sweating when the body was working hard. That single principle shaped the way people moved through winter. A hunter climbing through deep snow might slow down on purpose instead of pushing harder. Someone carrying a heavy load might loosen clothing or remove a layer before sweat built up. Resting, walking, hunting, and sleeping all required constant adjustment. This was one reason many early European travelers struggled. Their heavy garments could trap heat at first, but they also trapped sweat. Once wet, they became cold, stiff, and exhausting. Native clothing systems were designed with a different idea in mind. They did not simply trap heat, they managed heat. One of the best examples was smoked buckskin. To an outsider, a deer hide shirt might have looked simple, even primitive. In reality, it was the result of patient material engineering. The hide was cleaned, worked, softened with animal oils, and then smoked over slow-burning wood. Smoke entered the fibers and helped preserve the hide in a way that made it more flexible. After exposure to moisture, ordinary leather could harden and become uncomfortable when wet. Smoked buckskin stayed more useful. It was soft, durable, and breathable. Moisture from the body could escape instead of collecting inside the garment. Long before modern outdoor brands sold waterproof, breathable gear, Native communities had already developed a natural version, shaped by real survival needs, not marketing slogans. But the material was only half the genius. The real strength came from how clothing was worn. Traditional winter clothing often included separate shirts, leggings, robes, moccasins, wraps, and outer layers that could be adjusted throughout the day. Warmth comes from trapped still air, but moving air removes heat quickly. Loose clothing helped preserve circulation while holding insulating air pockets around the body. A steep climb called for ventilation. A sudden wind called for more coverage. A long pause in the cold required another adjustment. The body was treated like a changing system, not a bundle to be wrapped once and forgotten. In many ways, these methods resemble the layering strategies used today by mountaineers, Arctic travelers, and serious winter survival experts. Still, even the best clothing could fail if the feet failed. The ground constantly pulled heat away, and wet feet could become a slow disaster. Moccasins are often misunderstood because they look too soft to modern eyes. Their flexibility allowed the foot to move naturally, which helped circulation, but the hidden technology was inside. Dry grass, moss, plant fibers, animal hair, and bison wool could be placed inside as insulation. These materials trapped air and absorbed sweat. When they became damp, they could be removed and replaced. That made foot care a daily survival practice, Warm feet meant movement. Movement meant food, shelter, firewood, and the ability to reach safety before weather changed. A person who lost the use of his feet in winter was already in serious danger. Shelter followed the same logic. Work with nature, not against it. The tipi, for example, was much more than a symbol. Its conical shape handled strong winds better than flat walls because air flowed around it instead of striking it directly. Inside, a liner could create an insulating space between the living area and the outer. Covering cold air entered low, warm air rose, and smoke escaped through adjustable openings at the top. This was not a random tent around a fire. It was a portable climate system. It controlled airflow, smoke, heat, and wind pressure, while still allowing a family or group to move when the season or food supply required it. Fire was another area where experience challenged instinct. Inexperienced travelers often built the biggest fire they could. It seemed logical. More flame should mean more warmth. But a huge fire can waste fuel, overheat one side of the body, leave the other side exposed, and burn through precious resources too quickly. Native Americans often used smaller, better controlled fires that gave steady heat and conserved fuel. Heated stones added another layer of intelligence. Stones placed near a fire absorbed heat, then slowly released it after the flames dropped. Wrapped carefully or placed near bedding, they worked like simple heat batteries through the night. The lesson was clear. Survival was not about making the most dramatic fire. It was about getting the most useful heat from the least wasted effort. Food was just as important as shelter and clothing. Cold burns calories constantly. Breathing, walking, shivering, carrying loads, cutting wood, and staying alert all demand energy. Indigenous winter diets often leaned heavily on fat and protein because those foods provided lasting fuel. Pemmican became one of the most effective survival foods ever created. Made from dried meat, rendered fat, and sometimes berries, it packed enormous energy into a compact form. It could be stored for long periods, carried over great distances, and eaten during hard travel. Later, fur traders, explorers, and Arctic expeditions came to rely on it because it solved a brutal problem: how to carry enough calories when the land itself offered little immediate food. Yet the body was never the whole battlefield. Winter also attacked judgment. Fear makes people hurry when they should slow down. Panic wastes strength. Despair makes small problems feel final. Native survival culture treated knowledge as protection against panic. Children learned by watching, listening, helping, and repeating skills until they became familiar. A storm was dangerous, but danger was less terrifying when people knew what signs to read and what actions to take. Community also mattered. People watched one another for exhaustion, frostbite, confusion, and poor decisions. No one truly survived alone. A group carried more than tools and food. It carried memory, attention, skill, and correction. Reading the environment was one of the most powerful skills of all. Before forecasts, satellites, and radar, the land itself gave warnings. Experienced hunters and elders studied cloud shapes, wind shifts, animal movement, snow texture, bird behavior, silence in the forest, and changes in the sky. These clues could reveal a storm before it arrived. That early warning created time to gather more fuel, time to strengthen shelter, time to delay travel or choose another route. Modern weather science uses instruments. Traditional knowledge used disciplined observation. The methods were different, but the purpose was the same: reduce surprise. This is why Native American winter survival cannot be explained by one invention. It was not only buckskin, moccasins, tipis, fire, pemmican, or tracking. It was the connection between all of them. Clothing worked with moisture instead of ignoring it. Shelter worked with wind and airflow instead of pretending the weather could be sealed out completely. Food worked with the body's need for dense energy. Movement worked with temperature and sweat. Community worked against fear and poor judgment. Observation worked against uncertainty. Together, these practices turned survival from a desperate emergency into a way of life. The deeper lesson is easy to miss. Many outsiders tried to conquer winter. Native Americans learned to understand it. They did not treat nature as a dumb enemy to be beaten with heavier clothing and bigger fires. They treated it as a system with rules. Those who learned the rules had a chance. Those who ignored them paid for that mistake quickly. Centuries later, modern survival experts still teach versions of the same principles. Stay dry, layer wisely, protect your feet, conserve fuel, eat enough fat and protein, read the weather, and never let panic make decisions for you. That may be the most remarkable part of the story. The knowledge was ancient, but the logic is still current. Technology changes. Human heat loss does not. Gear improves. Wet clothing is still dangerous. Weather apps exist, but clouds and wind still tell a story. Native American winter survival was never just about enduring the cold. It was about understanding how cold moves, how the body fails, and how small decisions decide who sees the next sunrise. On this channel, we explore the forgotten skills, hidden technologies, and hard-earned wisdom that helped people survive in places where others could not. Which ancient survival method surprised you most? And what lost knowledge should we uncover next? Leave your thoughts below and join us on the next journey into humanity's earliest lessons.